This is Steve Notley with Wallaroo AI, and today we're going to be looking at how we can deploy an LLM model to production using Wallaroo's platform. And in particular, we're going to be deploying the Dolly LLM from Databricks. First, we define the schemas for our model's input and output, and then we can use the register model image command along with this input and output schema to point Wallaroo to our container image and upload it to Wallaroo to get ready for deployment. Next, we can check to see that this successfully completed, and we can see that we have a handle to our Dolly model. Next, we'll use a couple lines of code to give our pipeline a name and add this model to it. Next, we can go ahead and configure the hardware that we want to use for our deployment, and you can see here that we add the CPUs, GPUs, and memory that we want to make sure we have available for inference. Now that we have this all configured, we're ready to deploy this model to production. And in Wallaroo, you can see that that's just one line of code, the .deploy function here. And after that executes, we have our model out there in production, ready to receive inferences. And you can see that we confirm here that it is running. Now we can test our newly created endpoint with some sample data. We create a sample input data frame and we structure it the way that the model expects, in this case asking what LinkedIn does, and we'll go ahead and send that to the model using the infer function. And after just a moment, we get a result back. In this case, we can see it is a string-based answer to the question we posed to the LLM asking for a summary of LinkedIn. So now we can do some benchmarking of this model. And so we're going to take that same input and send it to our newly deployed model 10 times. We're going to measure the execution time for each and use that to get the average latency that we're seeing here. Now, as we're sending these requests and seeing them complete, we can jump over to the Wallaroo Operations Center UI and take a look at the dashboard for this pipeline. Here we can see things like the requests per second, and we can see this incoming traffic coming in, as well as the inference rate for my cluster. And as these requests come in and get processed, we can see the total execution time being returned for each. And once all 10 complete, we can go ahead and calculate the average latency, and we can see that that comes out to be a little over 4 seconds. Now that we've done our testing, we can go ahead and start to integrate this with some external services to make use of this endpoint. So the first thing that we're going to do is actually see the URL to send requests to, and I can display that with the .url command here. Now we've gone ahead and built a simple web page that we want to use for our chatbot here. And so what we've done is use that URL that we just saw to actually integrate that deployed version of Dolly into this web page so that we can go ahead and interact with this web page in the same way and see the results as they come back. And so every time I write a prompt on this web page, this is actually going to go ahead and send that to the model that we deployed. It's going to process that at that deployed location on my Wallaroo cluster and send those inference results back to be rendered here. And so today we've seen how using Wallaroo and a couple lines of code, we've gone from a saved LLM to a fully deployed production-ready model that I can integrate into a web page or my other services that is fully ready to take requests from my clients.